Looking at another conference game this week, and as everybody knows, we think conference games are more important than the non-conference games because we're trying to get to a position that we might be able to play for a championship. We're playing San Jose State, who has struggled to this point, but when you watch all the films, they have some quality athletes that have in the 6 games, have had a decent to really, really good chance of winning 3 of the 6. So the record is not necessarily indicative of what kind of football team they are. So obviously we're going to have to prepare well, and we're going to have to play well to win the game.
Can you speak to the kicking game? They have the national leader in kickoff returns. And, I mean, he hasn't scored a touchdown, but he's broken off a couple 80-yarders.
Yeah, I mean, they do a nice job. I mean, he's good with the ball in his hand, but they also do a nice job of blocking for him. I mean, they have a really good scheme, and they execute it really well.
Rocky, talking about special teams, when you go out and evaluate high school kids, how much are you looking to see how they might fit on your special teams here?
Well, most of the guys that we recruit out of high school, other than being return guys, there's a lot of them that are return guys because of their skill. Most of the guys we're recruiting aren't playing special teams in high school. So to evaluate a player for special teams, he's got to be a quality athlete that doesn't mind contact. Because most special teams play, you have to be an athlete where you can run fast enough to cover, you can be physical enough to get off of blocks or avoid blocks, and then you got to be willing to tackle somebody. And then when you're on the coverage teams, obviously you have to, or when you're on the kicking teams, obviously you have to do some things as block and get in the right position to allow the return man to maybe have some progress. So you look for really good athletes that don't mind contact to be on special teams.
Do most guys embrace special teams because it's any way to get on the field, or do you have to sell them on it because they're not a star guy?
No, I think it's a team attitude. I think some guys like to play no matter what, and so they're looking to be on every special team as well as play on offense or defense. And then there's some other guys that have to realize how important it is. Now, we have some starters on our special teams. So if you have a good team spirit, that they're willing to do it because they know how important it is to any success you might have.
Special teams change the flow of the game more so now than maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
I don't know about more, but special teams can win and lose you a game for sure. I mean, we've won a game this year because we had a real good field goal kicker. We've come close to losing a couple games because we can't catch a punt. And then last week we didn't. After a safety, we kicked off and couldn't cover a kickoff, and the other team got great field position. So special teams are vital to any success or lack of success you have.
How's the emphasis changed from a coaching standpoint? I mean, it didn't nearly get as much attention 10 or 20 years ago, did it, as it does now?
I think it probably did get just as much attention, but people have been more educated on how important it is to the winning and losing of a game. I think that is due to you guys. I think that's due to the media. The media started to realize how important special teams were to winning and losing, and all of a sudden everybody found out how important it was. But I think coaches all along have known how important it was.
But in practice, has it always been practiced as much as it is now?
As a player now, I played a long, long time ago. I think we spent as much time on special teams back when I played as we do now.
Coach, you lost Chase Jasmine late in the game on Friday night. What's the status of your running backs?
I think he's going to play this week. He's in, I think, the 4th day of perceived concussion. He has no symptoms or anything, but we have a policy, and I can't tell you exactly what the policy is, but we have a policy when they think that one of our players has had a concussion, we have a policy that he's following, and he's supposed to, if nothing has changed, he's going to be cleared to practice full speed tomorrow.
What about Jawan from Washington?
Jawan is still on the same time frame. They think he'll be ready to play in 3 weeks.
How about Christian Chapman, coach? He suited up last week. Said he could go if he needed to, and where's he at now?
Well, I think Christian will go only in a very emergency situation. He is practicing, but he's practicing in a limited role. I mean, he's not doing anything where somebody could bump into him or someone could tackle him or anything like that. And he's getting better, but you can tell he's not moving around like he would normally. And until he can protect himself, we're not going to put him out there.
If he could go in emergency roles, I mean, he's technically cleared, or how does that work?
I don't. I think that's his judgment telling our trainers.
Today, Bosa for Ohio State said he's leaving school to focus on being the #1 player in the draft. When you spend so much time working on a kid like that.
You mean he's leaving school
Right
with,
now.
with right now?
Right now,
He's withdrawing.
yeah.
Wow.
To
Well,
focus,
he's been out injured.
but he's going to focus on becoming the #1 pick in the draft. That's his focus. When you spend so much time recruiting a kid and developing a kid, and a kid as good as that, and something like that happens for a coach, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I would be very disappointed, and I'm sure they are too. But this day and age, I mean, you just got to move on. You can't worry about it. You got to move on. Stuff like that happens. I mean, in the NCAA right now, they're in the process of changing a lot of rules that are giving the athletes a lot more say-so on what goes on. And so I think that's the trend right now.
But first we saw that in a couple bowl games, and now this. So how is just the whole mindset change of players?
Well, I think that some players have changed their mindset probably because of being educated by some people that they hold very dear to their hearts, that are very important to them. It's disappointing because the team that you play on now should be the most important thing.
Money's gotten so big too, it becomes such a, whether, I mean, that's top in college football with all the money Ohio State makes, it's a business. And he's, in some ways, don't you think he's making a business decision?
Well, I think that's probably what he thinks he's doing, is making a business decision. I mean, I'm an old guy, and I think you play for a lot more things than the financial benefits that you get. And I don't know how many. I don't know if we have any first-round draft choices on our team this year. And I never was one, so I don't know what the mindset is of a first-round draft choice. Except we had one last year, and I'll promise you he wouldn't have come out early. He would have finished the season. He played in the bowl game. So everybody's different. Everybody has a different personality. Everybody's different.
Hey, Rocky, I want to ask you about turnaround programs. You obviously rebuilt New Mexico. You were at Oregon State when it was really, really bad. And San Jose, outside of Dick Tomey and an odd year with McIntyre, has had no success. How hard is it to flip something that's been down for so long?
I think changing an athletic program depends on the number of participants. I think the fewer the participants, the quicker it can be turned around. In other words, if you only have 12 guys on your team, it can be turned around overnight with one recruiting class. If you have 100 and some players on your team and 60 to 70 of them play in a game, it takes you 4 or 5 years to turn a program around, because it's installing a different offense, installing a different defense, a different attitude, and recruiting players. So I think that it purely depends on the number of participants in the sport on how quickly you can turn a program around.
But it can be done? I mean, Oregon State, Washington State?
I think it can be done. I think there's some places harder than others to turn a program around. And so it has to be the right guy at the right time. And which is sad to say, but he has to be given enough time to do it. And that's not the way it is being handled nowadays.
When you're facing an 0-6 team, do you, I guess, focus on one of the games, like maybe the Hawaii game where they go 5 overtimes, because you mentioned that you think Hawaii is, getting better kind of thing, just so these guys understand, hey, they're 0-6, but they're just, a couple plays away from being 3-3 or 4-2.
Well, number one, as coaches, we don't focus on any one team. One game, we focus on all the games when we try to put a game plan together. And when you focus on all the games, you realize that they have quality players. They have a good scheme, which means they have good coaches. And there are times that they look really good on the field, and there are times they're not. But guess what? We do that too. We look really good on the field sometimes, and we don't look good at times. The trick of the matter is that your team gets ready to play, that they want to get better every week, and they work hard in practice, and they want to play. That's the trick. Because every week there's upsets. I see every week where there's someone's a 20 or 25-point favorite and they get beat. And that happens in college because it's emotional as well as physical. And then you might lose a good player or two that makes you not near as good a team as you were the week before. Or it might be just the right day for that team that they play really, really good and the other team doesn't play so well. That's what makes college football more fun than pro football.
Rocky, how do you convince kids to commit to a program that's 1-12? How do you get blue chipper, better players, whatever, compared to what you might have inherited when you walked in the door?
Number one, you're not going to get blue chippers because they're being advised to go other places. It's up to coaching staff to evaluate players that can be developed into blue chippers. So it's all about evaluation, because there's a lot of kids out there that are playing football right now that are going to be really, really good college football players. Now, you can't tell that right now because maybe they're a little too small or they play on a bad high school team, and you can't tell what they're going to be 4 or 5 years from now. So it's all about evaluation, and then once you evaluate, if you get good enough athletes, it's about developing those athletes into quality players. It's not an exact science, though. You got to get lucky in some cases.
What lessons do you think the players learn from, I'm going to call it a near loss against the Air Force, near win if you want to call it a near loss, we can call it that too. What lessons do you think the players learned from last Friday's game?
I think the players learn that if they keep playing hard and keep trying, that there's always a chance to win.
Anything else for Coach Long?
Coach, what's the biggest challenge you think your team is going to face this week?
Well, there's two things I see. Number one, on defense, it's hard for defensive kids to switch from one scheme to a different scheme back to the same scheme. In a 4 or 5 day practice schedule, it's hard to go from 50-50 team, which runs the ball and throws the ball really good, to a wishbone team or a triple option team that runs it about 80% of the time, and it's a completely different scheme. Now you're going to a complete spread team that wants to throw it all over the ballpark. I think that's really difficult. I think that on offense, I think that we've got to get back to the point that we can successfully run the ball and keep the ball away from the other team, because we haven't done that real well in the last couple weeks. Now, our quarterback and some of our receivers have made big enough plays that they've kept us in the game and we've had a chance to win. So our offense is doing good things to help us win, but our success around here is based on controlling the ball by being able to run it, and we haven't done that successfully the last couple of weeks.
This is going to be your 100th game as head coach this weekend. What's the most memorable here for you?
I don't look at those kind of things. I will someday probably, but I don't look at that stuff. I didn't even know it was my 100th game until someone told me yesterday. I guess that means I have some longevity, right? I guess that's what it means.
Only Don Corrales coach more games.
Yeah, he's won more too.
See the picture floating around the internet of you in a BC Lions helmet running the ball?
No, I didn't see that.
It's out there.
How'd I look?
Younger.
Is that
Younger?
right?
Yeah, I bet that part's true. Yeah, for sure.
We didn't know you wore helmets in those days.
Yeah, our players don't think we wore helmets in those days either. I do have a leather helmet in there if anybody ever wants to see it. So somebody gave it to me, and I've kept it for years and years and years because every year the players ask if I played in a leather helmet, so I bring it out. It doesn't fit, though, but
Oh my God.
Coach, does it irritate you when weather delays happen?
irritate me?
Yeah. Were you like, oh, not again type of thing?
No. I think there's a lot of things that happen during the football game that you learn how to handle and react. Doesn't mean you like it. I'd rather have the game go on a normal time frame. I get upset sometimes when we have 6 commercials in a quarter. You got something going well on the field you got a little momentum on the field, and all of a sudden they take a commercial, and then you kick off, and then they take another commercial, and then they throw a complete pass for 12 yards, and then there's another commercial. I think that bothers me a lot worse than a weather delay. I mean, someone else is in charge of the weather.
If you get in lopsided games, what's your philosophy about playing your younger kids in blowout games? Just give them live fire snaps?
Now with the change in rules, you probably play more of them. In the past, you didn't, because you have a group of kids you're trying to redshirt, but now you can actually play them in a game or two and still redshirt them. So I would guess that would change from what it used to be.